Horror franchises are in a weird spot right now. As a genre, it's always fallen into the same trap of overproducing entries until it financially and critically fails into a slow death. But lately, we've seen a different kind of failure. In the age of nostalgia, most of the biggest horror franchises have tried to rely on the past while masking themselves as the start of a new era, but it's exhausting. Through all this, there has been a shining light in the past few years, and that's Evil Dead. I'm a massive fan of the original trilogy by Sam Raimi. Evil Dead 2 might be my favourite horror film ever, and with Evil Dead Rise, it seemed the franchise was taking the route of standalone entries being opportunities for fresh talent to share their voices to the world. The trailer for this film was great, and the main premise it was selling was what sold the film for me. We follow Alice, who after the loss of her husband William, visits her in-laws' family home for a dinner, but one by one they turn into deadites and she has to fight to survive. That paired with the fact the family blames Alice for Will's death, and she has never felt welcomed by them, made the idea of her being our main character interesting for me because there's no emotional connection that allows her to hesitate killing them, unlike the other entries. However, the film is a mess. Let's start with the positives because I want to balance this review out, as the film is such an up and down rollercoaster ranging from dope moments to stretches where I had my head in my hands. The cast are great. Lucianne Buchanan delivers one of my favourite Deadite performances of the franchise. It's not a surprise she's been the main piece of marketing since the main trailer released, but it's a shame so many of her highlights were spoiled because she really is the strongest part of the film. I'll go into my problem with the sound mixing later on, however my biggest problem with this may be that her big moment in the trailer with the headrest in her neck has this bombastic score over what is a cool bit of sound design in the trailer. Her and her stunt double put their all into such a physically demanding performance. The 5-minute stretch where we're just focusing on her as a deadite is captivating. While the script feels reverse engineered trying to find a believable way for all these moments to connect, it's great to have a set piece that is just a deadite going all out attacking everyone, and in hindsight might be the highest point of the film. Errol Shand is also a highlight, but I wish there was more of him, which will be a common critique of the film. Before he turns into Deadite, we see a hint of this generational trauma passed down to his son from him. Even at his own son's cremation, he can't cry in front of the family, and instead has to plead to break the rules and cry in a private room. Once he turns, we see the Deadites target this in a violent form, with him being caught with a knife near his wrist, and his attack style throughout is more of an outburst rather than a teasing style that other Deadites have done in previous entries. Instead of environmental impact stopping our character from leaving his house, it is Edgar both times, and the first time is one of my favourite scenes of the film. The car sequence has an infectious energy to it that the Evil Dead franchise is known for, and is a glaring absence in most of the film. It's the one time I felt the suffocating feeling that the franchise is known for, being stuck in one location with no escape, as the Deadites will stop at nothing. The rest of the cast, notably Suella Yakub, do the best with what they're given. Yakub's character Alice is painfully underdeveloped. Instead of the half-baked exploration of abuse is the extent we know about her and the occasional moments where the film demands her to be the final girl it wants for the third act. The flipping between that final girl with no remorse and being scared happens constantly, which isn't helped by the film having a structure of quick set piece, then a break, then another set piece, then a break, and this repeats till the credits. Even the most recent entry in the franchise, Evil Dead Rise, utilises this structure better. In the quiet moments between, we get character development between Beth and the children while they try to work out what is happening to Ellie, and it never lets go of the building momentum until a satisfying third act. Here we get very little character development. Instead, the very simple plot feels weirdly convoluted while watching, despite the writing sounding straightforward. Like I said earlier, the whole film feels reverse engineered, and with the longest runtime in the franchise, you can feel it. Small details like cutting away from the action to show how a character got there makes this film uninteresting. I can't wait for in a few months to rewatch this because I'm extremely curious where certain events happen, as the first act in particular is messy. Even when the film has an energy in the third act, it's squandered occasionally by the momentum being broken, which is a shame, as I love this one sequence where Alice has to climb out of a bathroom to the roof and then climb down a chimney to escape the Deadites. Sebastian Van der Sek has a clear talent behind the camera. Even though I have clear problems with the script, I love the camera work in this. I appreciate him only having one action scene with a long take, because a certain film recently fell into the trap of overusing them to not be effective, but not enough where it's part of visual language. Evil Dead Burn wants to have sequences with loads of cuts as part of the language, so if every action scene was filmed like this, it would feel aimless and show a lack of cohesion. I also love the shot where Alice is knocked out on the ground as a drone shot from the sky descends towards her, and then rotates as she wakes up. It's a nice distinction between the claustrophobic house setting and the endless landscape outside. The script is easily the weakest part of the film. Whether it's the reliance on the past or the lack of development in its story or characters, it leaves a lot to be desired. What was so appealing to me about this post-Raimi era of Evil Dead was the standalone stories, and in the 2013 reboot they tacked on a post-credit scene that I hated. Other than that, these have been a nice gateway film for new directors to share their visions without being handcuffed to pre-existing characters, and it's why this franchise has stayed so consistent unlike its peers. Alien Romulus was an example of this type of filmmaking I wanted Evil Dead to avoid, not only bringing back actors who have died, but copying lines from other films for crowd reactions, and it left me empty on the franchise's future. I tried to watch Alien Earth, but after a few episodes I realised I just didn't care anymore, and this sentiment is shared with other horror franchises. Halloween, Scream, Texas Chainsaw Massacre all fall into a similar trap of nostalgia-reliant reboots, but Evil Dead has stayed safe. Until now, sort of. I'm going to delve into spoilers for this segment, so if you want to avoid them, you can skip to my final rating in the timestamps below. The film opening on Jessica isn't exactly a problem for me, but it sets a specific tone for what this franchise is doing. Connecting these films isn't in itself a bad idea, but the post-credit scene for this film feels like they're feeding into this idea of an Evil Dead film with multiple of the franchise's characters. It's something certain fans have asked for years, but I couldn't think of anything worse. Of course, it's not the filmmaker's responsibility to listen to me. I'm just a random guy who's just a massive fan of these films, but when the post-credit scene happened, I just felt empty. An Evil Dead film has never left me feeling empty. Whether it's more comedy-focused or horror-focused, I leave these films with a high sense of energy. So when I left this feeling the life sucked out of me because of the decision, I was just sad. I've seen people online say the director revealed that this was a studio decision, and I do not blame him for this, of course. No matter what problems I have with how the script for this film handles certain things, he does not deserve to have his name attached to what is the studio interfering with his own work. As for now, this is easily something you can ignore as it's after the credits. However, the reception online has been weirdly celebratory of this scene, and it worries me of where this will go. My complaints about this choice come from a place of love. I adore everything Raimi and Bruce Campbell have done for this franchise, from the original trilogy to producing these new films for upcoming directors. With Evil Dead Burn, I want to rewatch this film because, unlike other films I've been disappointed in, I still rewatched this trailer afterwards thinking I'd love the film. Overall, the mixed screenplay and an over-reliance on the influences leave me more negative on the film, but the great set pieces still leave me with highlights, and I will think about it for the rest of the week. If you've seen Evil Dead Burn, let me know what you thought, and thank you for watching.